Libra 19, a gang of robbers in hiding. We generally assume that a gang of robbers are the bad guys. Of course we do. We put them in prison. But this teaching is challenging that assumption. There are times when tyranny has taken hold of your community and the people in power are really not serving the general population. They're serving the elite themselves. The wealthy and the powerful tend to serve the wealthy and the powerful. And after a while, there's dissent. Now, a gang of robbers, on the face of it, seems like a bunch of people that are selfish and they want more money. But that's not always the case. And if you look beneath the surface of why they need to do that, why they need to resort to criminality in order to have their feelings and needs met, why has that arisen? If we look at that question, we might find a different story. There's a Sufi teaching about this. There's a gang leader goes to his Sufi master and asks for a spiritual practice. Yes, of course, said the spiritual master. What is it you want to achieve? I want to be a better gang leader. Okay, says the Sufi teacher, and he gives him a pair of wazifas to practice. Ya Majid Mawjud, perhaps. And this makes the gang leader a better gang leader. And over the next 10 years or something, the gang prospers. But then the leader comes back to the Sufi guide and says, look, I need another practice. And the Sufi teacher says, well, okay, what do you want to do this time? I want to develop social skills. Some people in my gang are questioning my authority, and I'm fed up with killing them. I'd like to talk to them and persuade them. So the Sufi teacher gives a gentler practice, and the gang leader goes away and manages to create quite a gang, quite a powerful force for the good, actually, in his sense of the word. But something happens then. The country in which he lives is attacked by a neighboring country, and the Sultan is a weak, leaderless kind of person. He has no sense of inner leadership and cannot lead another. And so, to prevent his country falling victim to an aggressor, our gang leader steps up, rallies people to defense, and leads the country to freedom. So it's a good story, and we see here that a gang leader may not be the bad guy. We're labeling terrorists, we're labeling as terrorists quite a few people that see themselves as freedom fighters. It's just an interesting question to consider. The other thing to consider is what makes crime crime. Most of our laws are structured so that the punishments are more severe for crimes against property. If you steal something, if you steal a large amount of money from a rich person, you get a larger sentence than stealing a small amount of money from a poor person. Whereas the rich person doesn't suffer, they get the insurance money back, and the poor person goes hungry. Yet the punishment is related to the amount of the money. And also, robbery wins larger sentences than crimes of physical violence very often. Our laws are structured around land and property, and they're based on the idea that we who have the land and the property want to keep it, and you who have not it can't have it. That's basically what our laws are about, mainly the big ones. You might want to ask yourself whether criminality has been correctly identified there. The big guys who commit the worst crimes, they tend to wear suits and ties. And the guys that are in prison, a very large percentage of the population of the prison system in America, a very large percentage are for people who've just been smoking weed. That's possibly not true anymore, but it was at one time. And it certainly is true around the world. Um, it's a herb. It's not a chemical, and it doesn't involve anybody else. But there is that sense of making something totally natural, really, a criminal offence. So when we think about the whole question of crime and punishment, we're on shaky ground. You have to define crime really clearly if you want to work out what is a fair, just punishment. However, this degree is about taking the consequences of your actions, and in a situation, in a system where there is definition of crime and there is given out punishments, then we have to take that into account, whether it's fair or not. We have to do what we must do to stay out of prison. The deeper sense of this is, of course, beyond social. It is more cosmic. Karma will punish us. This is the teaching. It's not a very gentle teaching, but we do know that whatever we do, there will be consequences. And if we do something wrong, what we get back is probably something that we don't want. Eventually, it looks in the short term like we can get away with anything, but there is always a price to pay, always.